For wild animals, life is all about survival. And in this battle for their own place in the natural world, each has adapted in amazing ways, evolving unique abilities and anatomical mutations, allowing them to thrive in even the toughest environments. And it's in these extreme habitats that nature forces animals to do whatever it takes to survive. From the coldest winter to the hottest, most unforgiving desert, the highest mountains to the most barren, inhospitable terrain. Staying alive in such challenging conditions sometimes pushes animals to the very brink. But it's here, at the Earth's most extreme, where animals perform their greatest feats of survival. Meters above sea level, in the mountains of southern China. The trees in these mysterious high-altitude forests have somehow found a way to survive. But blanketed in snow for months on end, and with average winter temperatures well below freezing, few animals can withstand the conditions at this height. Yet these mountains are infamous for strange, yeti-like creatures believed to roam these frozen forests. And this is no myth. Somehow capable of withstanding these punishing conditions, snub-nosed monkeys live at the highest altitude of any primate on Earth. These strange monkeys live in colonies of around 60. Isolated on mountaintops, they've evolved tricks to cope with the extreme conditions. To avoid frostbite, they have no nasal bones. And the upturned nostrils mean they have little flesh exposed to the bitter cold. Their thick, shaggy fur is also perfectly designed to keep in body heat. No fruit or leaves grow in this harsh environment, so these monkeys have to settle for pine needles and tree bark. Luckily, there's plenty to go around. With few animals able to survive in these brutal conditions, these monkeys are left in almost total peace. But sometimes an outsider will try and invade a rival colony's territory, causing tension to rise. When a rival male tries his luck, it's the alpha's job to defend the colony, A battle erupts, and the rest of the group shout their support. Snub-nosed monkeys have huge canine teeth that can make any conflict a dangerous affair. The challenger puts up a spirited display. But the pack's alpha male asserts his strength, and the invader is forced to retreat back to his own colony on the other side of the mountain. Snub-nosed monkeys are incredibly agile, moving through the branches at great speed. But as night starts to fall, temperatures plunge further, and even their shaggy fur isn't enough to insulate themselves against this cold. To survive here, the monkeys must huddle together in the trees as a unit, using their combined body heat to fight the mountain's potentially deadly cold. But surprisingly, in the planet's largest hot desert, nighttime temperatures in the Sahara can also drop below freezing. But in the day, things warm up rapidly, very rapidly. Just a few hours after sunrise, and it's already a scorching 35 degrees. The intense heat and constant sandstorms make this a treacherous place to live. But for animals adapted to these extreme conditions, this heat is a vital source of energy. This sandfish is cold-blooded and needs the sun to recharge after a cold night. The sandfish's smooth body and short, sturdy legs are ideal for moving across the desert terrain. His ears and nostrils are also small enough to stop sand getting into his nose and lungs. The sandfish is perfectly designed for this extreme environment. But so is its deadly enemy. The horned viper is a fearsome predator with a taste for sandfish. Most animals struggle to move across the sandy dunes. But the horned viper has developed the perfect technique to travel across the burning sand at high speed. To avoid sinking, it grips with 2 points of its long body, repeatedly throwing the rest of itself sideways, producing the smooth movement that gives the snake its nickname, the Sidewinder. This technique also prevents it from overheating, keeping as much of its body off the searing ground as possible. But right now, he smells prey. The sandfish appears unable to move. He is still warming up his body as his nemesis nears. The sandfish knows he would have no chance of outrunning the viper. The snake takes his time as he prepares to strike. The outcome appears inevitable, but the sandfish has a secret weapon for surviving in the desert. Disappearing into the sand, This time, the lizard escapes the viper's deadly fangs. It's this incredible trick that gives the sandfish its name. Literally swimming through the sand to safety. His streamlined body and smooth skin means he can travel with great speed under the desert, away from his enemies, leaving the viper to continue his search for breakfast. For predators, the intense heat and lack of cover make the desert a demanding environment to hunt in. But a cold and barren glacier can be an even tougher hunting ground. Svalbard, a land of frozen ice and tundra. Home to the world's largest land predator. Over 2,500 polar bears somehow managed to survive in this frozen wilderness. On its hind legs, this adult polar bear is 3 meters tall and weighs over 600 kilos. 10 centimeters of fat and hollow fur insulates the bear against the Arctic climate as he roams the sea ice, searching for seals. He has a powerful sense of smell, detecting prey from 30 kilometers away. A ringed seal and her pup are relaxing by a breathing hole. Seal pups need to spend the first few weeks of their lives on dry land until their fur is fully waterproof. This gives the polar bear his opportunity. The ringed seal's vision is poor and remains unaware of the approaching danger. This time, the polar bear misses out. Only 1 in 50 hunts at this time of year are successful. But it's just enough to survive. Few animals are better designed to withstand extreme temperatures than the massive polar bear. But there's a tiny creature in Africa that's also capable of surviving a potentially deadly climate. The temperature at ground level here is nearly 70 degrees, capable of burning animals alive. But Tunisian desert ants appear immune to this lethal heat. They've developed extra long legs, elevating them higher above the scorching surface. It keeps them 6 degrees cooler as they beaver away, fixing their burrow. Some species even have tiny reflective hairs on their backs, and their bodies produce special heat shock proteins to protect them while they rebuild their shelter. But if they want to eat, the ants must head out into the desert. The intense heat means the weakest animals don't survive out here, and the ants are there to mop up. But they're against the clock. They have about 10 minutes before they fry. Luckily, these ants have the incredible ability to calculate the most direct route home. Their tiny brain is able to count its steps. Then, using the angle of the sun, the ants work out how to get home in a straight line. It's a vital skill. If they get lost, they would certainly die. like this fat-tailed scorpion, who's about to become dinner. It's a huge feast for the ants. But the scorpion is still alive, so they are wise to be wary of its deadly sting. Biting at the arms and legs, they swarm over it and start to dismember him. They need to work fast in this burning heat before the sun claims them too. Finally, the scorpion is ready to be transported. The ants head home and carry it limb by limb. They carry the body into the burrow and devour every last piece. Many ants die attempting this grueling task, but it's a price that has to be paid to keep the colony alive. Desert ants have evolved just enough anatomical tricks to make living in these lethal temperatures possible. But there's another land animal that has actually found a way to survive underwater. This river in Germany is home to one of the planet's most extraordinary creatures. The diving bell spider. The only spider that lives underwater. It can't actually breathe below the surface. Instead, this ingenious spider creates its very own scuba tank by taking air bubbles down into his web. The bubble then acts like a gill, exchanging fresh oxygen from the surrounding water with any carbon dioxide that the spider breathes out, meaning one bubble can last all day. Like a scuba diver, he can even take the bubble with him. There's a reason why this spider has decided to live its days amongst the reeds. Because he only has to go to the surface once a day for air, he cuts down on the risk of being eaten by predators. When he does go to the surface, he collects air in fine hairs on his leg, taking it back underwater to top up the oxygen in his bubble. But this remarkable invention doesn't just help the spider hide from his enemies. It allows him to spend more time hunting underwater. His aquatic air chamber opens up a whole new world of potential prey. Such as this damselfly larva. The spider's large fangs kill it quickly. By pushing the limits of where an air-breathing animal can survive, this diving bell spider has turned the river into its own hunting ground. But another species has found a way to use water to survive. Jikokodani is a mountainous region in Japan. The name means Hell's Valley. Temperatures here often drop below -10 degrees. With a thick blanket of snow covering the ground for 4 months of the year, few animals choose to live in these conditions. But this extraordinary primate is one exception. The Japanese macaque. Around 200 macaques inhabit this bleak landscape all year round. And in winter they are forced to forage for food underneath the snow, living off roots or even soil. Fortunately, the macaque's fingers are nearly as dexterous as a human, giving them the ability to dig down deep into the snow. But their fur only offers them limited protection from the blizzards and icy winds. Life is hard for the monkeys here in Hell's Valley. But these lucky creatures have managed to find a small piece of heaven. Jikokodani is a volcanic hotspot, and water boils up from deep in the Earth's crust, creating natural hot springs. The water in this natural hot tub reaches 40 degrees, providing much-needed respite from the winter chill. The pools are used regularly by the monkeys who gather here to relax after an exhausting day foraging. They spend much of their time grooming each other. But not all monkeys are allowed in. Macaques have an intensely hierarchical structure. They live in groups ruled by a dominant female and male. The alpha male won't let just anyone into his thermal paradise. Entry is for approved members only. He favors high-ranking females and the young. The rest are locked out in the cold. One unvetted monkey tries a spot of bathing. He's taught a brutal lesson in hot tub etiquette. With the intruder gone, the macaques get back to relaxing by the pool. The volcanic waters of Jikokodani help the monkeys survive in a harsh environment. But regions with active volcanoes usually make life almost impossible for most animals. Yet the Indonesian island of Java is home to an animal adapted to this seemingly lifeless terrain. There are over 40 active volcanoes here, covering the island in clouds of smoke. They are constantly spewing out rock and toxic gases. Barely anything can survive amongst the kilometers of ash and cinder. And yet these vast barren deserts are actually an ideal environment for one species. The megapode. These birds are omnivores and forage amongst the ash, feeding on seeds, insects, and snails. But they are most renowned for the ingenious way they use the hot black dust, using it to incubate their eggs. The heat of the ash and the limited predators make the barren terrain the ideal nursery for their young. The megapode uses its oversized feet to dig a half-a-meter hole in the dust so they can lay their eggs. But these birds are well known for something else: laziness. Rather than bother digging a hole herself, this female has a much easier plan. Steal it from someone else. She starts stalking her victim, then pounces. The unsuspecting bird is caught unawares and flees the scene. She lays her egg, then piles warm ash on top. In 3 months, the chick will hatch and have to fend for itself in this lunar-like landscape. The megapode uses this method to help carve out its existence in an extreme and barren land. But here in Finland, one animal uses another trick to cope with extreme changes between the seasons. The weasel, the world's smallest carnivore. At around 20 centimeters long, it has a cute, harmless appearance. But looks can be deceptive. These are ruthless, bloodthirsty killers. And evolution has given them a weapon. Weasels change their color according to the seasons. In the summer, weasels have a brown coat. And in warmer regions where snow is scarce, they stay this color. But in snow-covered regions, this can change to white. This ability to change color to suit their snowy environment makes them hard to spot. And this one can smell his favorite meal. Voles. These small rodents live in underground burrows. They usually travel in a network of tunnels beneath the snow, but sometimes they have to venture out. Unfortunately, nature hasn't given voles the same ability to change color, leaving them at a distinct disadvantage. The weasel spots the opportunity and gives chase. It closes the gap quickly, but the vole makes it back to its burrow. It may think it's safe, but the weasel's small enough to follow it into its tunnel. With little fat, they have to consume 40% of their own weight every day to produce the body heat needed to survive. This hungry weasel is going to have a busy winter. The weasel is not the only creature that has its color determined by the extremes of its environment. Lake Natron in Tanzania, Africa's most inhospitable lake. High levels of evaporation have increased the salinity so far that it can burn the skin and eyes of anything that touches it. Few animals dare drink from these briny shores, and most stay away. But a few tiny organisms thrive on the salt. And it's these red algae that have become the staple food of one of the only birds capable of withstanding these caustic waters. Every year, 2.5 million lesser flamingos come here to breed and to raise their young. But how are they able to exist in such an extreme environment? Their thick, leathery skin can withstand the burning caustic water. They also feed upside down, which allows them to avoid submerging their heads. Glands in their head remove the salt when feeding, draining it out of their nose. Nature has kindly given them no sense of smell or taste. Almost 3/4 of all lesser flamingos are born in Lake Natron. The young flamingos start out with grey feathers, only turning pink after several years, once they've consumed enough of the algae to dye their feathers. The extreme salinity of the lake's water keeps out predators. And it's this inaccessibility that makes it a safe place to breed and the perfect place to raise their young. It's not just animals that have adapted to survive in extreme environments. Plants too must change and adapt in order to eke out an existence in the planet's toughest conditions. The taiga, or snow forest, stretches across North America, then through Northern Europe and Russia. This band of coniferous forest makes up 1/3 of the world's trees. Although summers here can be warm, the winters are bitterly cold. Temperatures dropping below -40 degrees, and little other plant life can survive in this snowy wilderness. But these are some of the toughest trees in the world, adapted to withstand these extreme conditions. They have shallow roots, meaning they can still grow in thin soils. In the winter, most plants cease to photosynthesize, but these trees are able to maximize what small sunlight there is by holding onto their needles all year round. Their dark color increasing the absorption of light. Their thin, dagger-like shape limits the amount of water lost through evaporation, important in winter when roots in the frozen soil struggle to take in water. The narrow conical shape helps protect the tree during winter blizzards, the downward drooping branches shedding snow before they overload. One of the taiga's biggest animal residents has also developed its own way to survive the extremes of winter. After 4 long months, temperatures have finally risen above freezing. And this is the first brown bear to emerge. Weighing almost 500 kilos, Brown bears are omnivores and will eat anything. But there was little on offer here in winter. So in order to survive, he has conserved his energy, sleeping right through the coldest part of the year. For up to 6 months, brown bears dig dens or hide themselves away in caves to hibernate. They reduce their heart rate from 50 to 10 beats per minute, slashing their metabolic rate. The brown bear can survive for 100 days without food or water. But now spring has finally sprung, the hungry bear has woken up. The snow and ice has begun to melt, and the bear can start to look for food once again. So hungry, he'll go for anything that's available. Bears have one of the best senses of smell of any mammal, 2,000 times more powerful than humans. Using smell alone, he tracks down a carcass 30 kilometers away from his den. A victim of the cold winter, provides much-needed sustenance. But he needs to be quick. A find like this is sure to attract attention. There are around 2,500 bears roaming northern Europe's forests, and most will be hungry. At first, he's too busy to notice he's got company. Luckily, bears have great hearing. The thawing ice gives the intruder's game away. The intruder is much bigger, so he makes a swift exit. Luckily, there will be plenty of food left over. He just has to wait his turn. Living in extreme environments often means food is scarce. So animals hoping to survive sometimes adapt their diet to whatever's available. The majestic Simien Mountains in Ethiopia. It's a landscape full of ravines, towering precipices, and peaks of over 4,500 meters. Few species inhabit this wild and forgotten land. But these soaring mountains are the perfect home for one of Africa's most unusual grazing mammals. The gelada baboons, the last surviving grazing primates in the world. Living at this high altitude means these baboons have had to adapt to stay alive. Most monkeys feed on fruit and seeds, but these primates have learned to eat something else. Grass. Their powerful fingers are perfectly designed for pulling the grass out of the ground, while their large molar teeth are adept at chewing, extracting the maximum amount of nutrients from each blade. Up to 600 monkeys roam these grassy plateaus and whole meadows are quickly trimmed down. Geladas have an alpha male as the leader of the group, but in practice, it's a matriarchal society. The females decide when and where to feed, as well as choosing when it's time to replace the leader. Geladas have a distinctive pink hourglass shape on the front of their chests. When the female comes into season, it blisters and becomes brighter in color to show when they are fertile. This causes great excitement among the troop's males. But also other males from rival colonies. A group of bachelors arrive looking for access to the prized females. The alpha male will have to fight to protect his harem. He pulls back his elasticated lip, revealing fearsome canine teeth, showing he's not to be messed with. But one rival is unfazed by the threat. The alpha male puts up a fight, but the bachelor is strong. Sensing weakness, the rest of the bachelor troop join in, forcing out the alpha. The challenger has triumphed. He approaches the females to claim his prize. But beating the alpha male is only half the battle. He still has to win over the females. They are clearly not convinced he's a worthy leader. Still loyal to their alpha, they demand his return. The females have proven they hold all the power, and the bachelor group beat a hasty retreat. Humbled by their loyalty, the alpha male returns to watch over his troop once again. By living at these high altitudes, the geladas evade predators and face little competition for food. But for the young monkeys, the cliffs at the edge of the colony bring their own dangers. But another animal on these cliffs appears to have no fear of these dizzying heights. The Walia ibex. He truly has nerves of steel. He can leap and run across these rocky ledges, thinking nothing of the huge drops below. He puts the gelada baboons to shame when it comes to speed on the mountain cliffs. Luckily, nature has provided him with the right tools for this dangerous job. He has specially adapted hooves with sharp edges and concave undersides, which act like suction cups, gluing his feet to the treacherous rock. He can even climb trees, giving him access to one of his favorite snacks, Old Man's beard. The ibex is the true gymnast of these potentially deadly cliff edges. Unusually, the males live together in groups, while the females live most of the year on their own. But during breeding season, this reverses. The females forming tight groups, and the males going their separate ways, then competing with each other for a mate. These goats are built to fight, with huge curved horns capable of dealing a fatal blow. This is one competitor you don't want to mess with. The smell of the female is too much to ignore and sends them into battle. The male ibex enter into a form of a tournament where they all battle each other until an ultimate victor is chosen at the end. This champion goat gets to dominate the female herd and has the best chance of siring the most offspring. The next generation of ibex will then have to learn how to survive on the cliff edges here in the Simien Mountains, proving some species will go to extraordinary lengths to stay alive, no matter how extreme the environments. For millions of years, animals have found unique ways to exist in some of the most challenging conditions on Earth. These creatures have proven that no matter how cold, how hot, or how barren the terrain, animals will stop at nothing in the battle to survive.